The sheriff stood before the cameras, his voice heavy with disgust. "It's bad enough that you kill a 14-year-old, he said. "You're 14. You're 16. You shoot her multiple times. And then you set her on fire." Danika Troy was just a girl who wanted to be loved. She snuck out of her house on a Sunday night to meet a boy she thought had feelings for her. A boy she trusted. A boy from school who told her he had a crush on her. She never came home. Her burned body was found 2 days later in a wooded area. Bullet holes in her remains. Gasoline used to set her corpse ablaze. She was 14 years old. And the boys who killed her were 14 and 16. This is the story of Danika Troy, a girl who just wanted to be in love for Christmas, and the classmates who lured her into the woods and executed her. Before we dive into this case, if you're new here, like, share, hit that subscribe button, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a case. Pace, Florida. A quiet community in the Florida Panhandle, about 16 miles northeast of Pensacola. The kind of place where neighbors know each other, where kids ride their bikes down tree-lined streets, where nothing truly terrible ever seems to happen. Until it did. Danika Jade Troy was 14 years old, a freshman with her whole life ahead of her. She lived with her mother, Ashley Troy, and her 8-year-old sister in a modest home in Pace. By all accounts, Danika was a normal teenager. She went to school. She had friends. She spent time on social media like every other kid her age. And like many 14-year-old girls, Danika wanted something that felt just out of reach. She wanted to fall in love. She just wanted to be in love for Christmas. Her mother would later say through tears, she was innocent and just wanted to be loved. Sometime during the Thanksgiving break of 2025, Danika got into some kind of dispute with 2 boys she knew from school. The details of what exactly happened on social media remain murky. But what investigators pieced together painted a picture of teenage drama that somehow spiraled into something unthinkable. One of the boys was 14-year-old Kamari Blevins. At some point during the break, Danika blocked him on social media. The other was 16-year-old Gabriel Williams. According to investigators, Danika had called Williams worthless and a gangbanger, insults that apparently cut deep enough to kill over. But Gabriel Williams had a plan. Instead of confronting Danika directly, instead of fighting with her online, he did something far more sinister. He pretended to like her. Gabe pretended to have feelings for her, Ashley Troy told reporters. That's how she was lured. A 16-year-old boy manipulating a 14-year-old girl's emotions, telling her what she wanted to hear, making her believe that maybe, just maybe, someone actually cared about her. That romance was possible. That love was within reach. It was all a lie. A calculated, cold-blooded trap designed to get Danika exactly where they wanted her. Alone. In the woods. In the dark. November 30th, 2025. A Sunday night. The last night of Danika Troy's life. At some point that evening, Danika made a decision that would cost her everything. She snuck out of her home, taking her electric scooter with her. She was going to meet Gabriel Williams, the boy who had been telling her he had feelings for her, the boy she thought might actually like her. Her mother, Ashley, had no idea her daughter had left. She had no idea that Danika was riding her scooter through the darkness toward a wooded area off Kimberly Road in Florida town. She had no idea that her 14-year-old daughter was walking into a carefully planned execution. Gabriel Williams was not alone. Kamari Blevins, the 14-year-old boy Danika had blocked on social media, was with him. According to a cooperating witness who later spoke to investigators, the 2 boys had planned this. They had talked about it beforehand. They knew exactly what they were going to do. Gabriel had stolen his mother's handgun. A real gun, loaded and ready. The plan, according to what Blevins later told a witness, was simple. They were going to shoot Danika once. Just once. And then it would be over. But that is not what happened. What happened in those woods that night was far worse than even that horrific plan. The details of Danika's final moments are difficult to comprehend. She walked into those woods believing she was meeting a boy who cared about her. She probably felt excited, nervous, maybe a little rebellious for sneaking out. She was 14. She was thinking about teenage things, about crushes and romance and the possibility of her first real relationship. Instead, she walked into an ambush. Gabriel Williams raised his mother's stolen handgun and opened fire. The first shot rang out in the darkness. Then another, and another. He kept shooting. According to what Blevins told the cooperating witness, the original plan was to shoot her once. But Gabriel kept pulling the trigger. Danika Troy, the girl who just wanted to be loved, was shot multiple times in a wooded area not far from her own home. But even that was not enough for her killers. After shooting her, the two teenagers doused her body in gasoline. And then they set her on fire. They burned a 14-year-old girl's corpse to try to hide what they had done. And then they left. They walked out of those woods and went home as if nothing had happened. As if they had not just murdered a classmate in cold blood. That night, Blevins's mother caught him sneaking back into the house. When she confronted him, he told her he had just gone outside to smoke a cigarette. But she did not smell any smoke on him. She did not know that her son had just helped kill a girl. She did not know that the lack of cigarette smoke on his clothes would later become part of a murder investigation. Meanwhile, Danika's body lay in the woods, burned, bullet-ridden, abandoned like trash. The girl who dreamed of love was dead, and her killers were home in their beds, acting like nothing had happened. The next morning would bring the beginning of the end for everyone involved. As we continue, like, share, hit that subscribe button, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a case. December 1st, 2025. Monday morning, around 7 a.m., Ashley Troy woke up to discover that her daughter was gone. Danika's bed was empty. Her electric scooter was missing. At first, Ashley likely assumed the worst that any parent of a teenager might assume. That her daughter had run away. That she had snuck out and would be back soon. That this was teenage rebellion, nothing more. She reported Danika as a runaway to the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office. Unbeknownst to the mother, Sheriff Bob Johnson would later explain at a press conference. Danika was murdered the previous night, while Ashley was filing a missing persons report. While she was calling friends and family trying to find her daughter, Danika's burned body was already lying in those woods off Kimberly Road. Already cold. Already gone. The day passed. Monday turned to Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. Around 11 in the morning, a passerby was walking along a wooded trail near Kimberly Road in Pace. The trail was about 50 yards from the main road, a quiet spot, isolated. The kind of place teenagers might go to hang out. The kind of place where two teenage boys would bring a girl to kill her. The passerby saw something in the woods. Something that did not belong there. Something that made them stop. Something that made them pull out their phone and call 911. They had found a body. When Santa Rosa County Sheriff's deputies arrived at the scene, what they found was beyond horrific. The body of a young girl, burned, shot multiple times, left to rot in the Florida woods like she was nothing. Near the body, investigators found a black and red electric scooter matching the description of the one Danika Troy had taken when she left home. They found spent 9mm shell casings scattered on the ground. Evidence of the multiple gunshots that had ended a 14-year-old girl's life. They found burned clothing. Evidence of the gasoline-fueled fire that had consumed her body. Based on the scooter and the clothing, deputies quickly determined that the body was Danika Jade Troy, the missing 14-year-old, the girl whose mother thought she had run away. Now Ashley Troy's worst nightmare had become reality. Her daughter had not run away. Her daughter had been murdered, shot multiple times and set on fire by people she knew, by people from her own school. The investigation moved fast, faster than anyone might have expected. Within 24 hours, Santa Rosa County investigators had identified their suspects. Two teenage boys, classmates of Danika Troy, kids who had supposedly been her friends. Gabriel Williams, 16 years old. Kamari Blevins, 14 years old. Both were taken into custody and charged with first-degree premeditated murder. Sheriff Bob Johnson called the evidence a ground ball, meaning it was obvious from the start who had done this. The trail led directly to the two boys almost immediately. But the question that haunted everyone, the question that still haunts this case, was simple. Why? The investigation into Danika Troy's murder uncovered a web of teenage drama that had spiraled into something no one could have predicted. Detectives interviewed both suspects. They talked to witnesses. They pieced together what had happened in the weeks leading up to that fatal Sunday night. And what they found was disturbing on multiple levels. According to arrest reports, the trouble started during Thanksgiving break. Some kind of social media dispute between Danika and the two boys. The exact nature of the argument is not entirely clear, but the results are documented. Danika had blocked Kamari Blevins on social media. She had also apparently made comments about Gabriel Williams that he found deeply offensive. She called him worthless. She called him a gangbanger. Insults typed on a screen. Words that would cost her everything. When detectives interviewed Gabriel Williams, he broke down crying. He talked about the hurtful comments Danika had made. Comments that apparently wounded his ego so deeply that he decided she needed to die. But here is where the story gets even more disturbing. A cooperating witness came forward and told investigators that Blevins had admitted to the murder. According to this witness, Blevins said that he and Gabriel Williams had planned the killing in advance. This was not a crime of passion. This was not a fight that got out of hand. This was premeditated murder. The witness also revealed a chilling detail. The original plan was to shoot Danika only once. But when the moment came, Gabriel Williams kept shooting. He fired multiple rounds into a 14-year-old girl. And then they burned her body. When investigators asked about motive, the boys pointed to the social media dispute, the blocking, the name-calling. But Sheriff Bob Johnson was not convinced. They have been interviewed, the sheriff told reporters. But the motive that they're giving doesn't fit the forensics or any facts of the case. So we don't have a legit motive. Think about that for a moment. Two teenagers planned and executed the murder of a classmate, and even after confessing to the crime, their explanation for why they did it does not make sense to investigators. The alleged motive, being blocked on social media and being called names, does not explain why anyone would plan a murder, steal a gun, lure a girl into the woods, shoot her multiple times, and burn her body. There is something more to this story, something darker, something that has not yet been revealed. But regardless of the true motive, the facts of what happened are clear. Two boys planned to kill a girl. They tricked her into trusting them. They executed her. And they tried to destroy the evidence by setting her on fire. The gun Gabriel used belonged to his mother. He had stolen it from her. Investigators are still looking into whether any charges will be filed against the parents for the unsecured firearm that ended up in their son's hands. Both Gabriel Williams and Kamari Blevins were booked into juvenile detention without bond. Both face charges of first-degree premeditated murder. And if prosecutors have their way, both will be tried as adults. The evidence against them is overwhelming. The case, as Sheriff Johnson put it, was a ground ball. But understanding why it happened remains elusive. As we continue, like, share, hit that subscribe button, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a case. Who are Gabriel Williams and Kamari Blevins? Who are these two teenagers accused of such a horrific crime? Gabriel Coleman Williams was 16 years old at the time of the murder. He did not live with his biological mother. His mother had passed away at some point, and he was living with his aunt, Jana Williams, who had temporary custody of him. On the same day that Danika Troy's murder was discovered, December 2nd, 2025, Jana Williams was arrested on drug charges. The 36-year-old guardian of an accused teenage killer was herself facing legal troubles. Whether there is any connection between her arrest and her nephew's crime remains unclear. What is clear is that Gabriel stole the handgun used to kill Danika from his mother, which investigators believe may refer to his aunt or another guardian figure in his life. The gun was not secured. A 16-year-old was able to take it without anyone noticing until it was too late. According to Sheriff Johnson, both Gabriel and Kamari had previous run-ins with law enforcement. The sheriff could not specify the nature of those encounters because the boys are minors, but he made clear that this was not their first contact with police. Kamari Blevins was only 14 years old, the same age as the girl he is accused of helping murder. A freshman killing a freshman. A child accused of participating in the execution of another child. When detectives questioned Kamari, he requested a lawyer. Unlike Gabriel, who broke down and cried about the hurtful comments Danika had made, Kamari was more guarded. He knew enough to ask for legal representation before saying anything more. Both boys knew Danika from school. They were supposedly friends, or at least acquaintances, people who passed each other in the hallways, people who interacted on social media, people who were part of the same teenage social circles. She loved them, Ashley Troy said about her daughter's relationship with the two boys. She loved them, and they brutally murdered her. That statement from Danika's mother captures the true horror of this case. This was not a random attack. This was not a stranger abduction. This was two boys that Danika knew, trusted, and apparently cared about. They used that trust against her. Gabriel pretended to have feelings for Danika. He manipulated her emotions. He made her believe that romance was possible. And then he lured her into the woods and shot her to death. The Santa Rosa County School District released a statement after the arrests, expressing deep sadness over the loss of one of their students. They offered counseling services to students affected by the tragedy. They acknowledged that 2 of their students had been arrested for murdering a third. 3 families destroyed. 3 young lives ruined. All because of something that started on social media during Thanksgiving break. The community was in shock. But for Ashley Troy, shock had given way to something else entirely. Grief, anger, and an unrelenting demand for justice. On Thursday, December 4th, 2025, Santa Rosa County Sheriff Bob Johnson held a press conference that would shock the community. He stood before the cameras and laid out what investigators had discovered. "This is where it gets really horrific," the sheriff said, his voice tight with controlled anger. He described how Danika had been lured into the woods by boys she knew from school, how Gabriel Williams had stolen his mother's handgun, how the 2 teenagers had planned the murder in advance, how they had shot a 14-year-old girl multiple times, how they had doused her body in gasoline, how they had set her on fire. "It's bad enough that you kill a 14-year-old, Sheriff Johnson said. "You're 14. You're 16. You shoot her multiple times, and then you set her on fire." The sheriff made no attempt to hide his disgust. This was not a case that could be explained away by teenage impulsivity or a fight that got out of hand. This was calculated, planned, executed with a chilling efficiency that seemed impossible for boys so young. When asked about the motive, Sheriff Johnson admitted that investigators were still struggling to understand why this happened. "They have been interviewed, but the motive that we're getting doesn't fit the forensics or any facts of the case," he said. "So we don't have a legit motive." The boys had given their explanations. The social media dispute, the blocking, the name-calling, but none of it added up. None of it explained why 2 teenagers would plan and execute the murder of a classmate over insults on the internet. "You don't want to go out to see a burnt child with bullet holes," the sheriff added. "That is not something you sign up for." Sheriff Johnson made his position on how the case should proceed very clear. He wants Gabriel Williams and Kamari Blevins tried as adults. "If you commit an adult crime," he said, "you deserve to serve adult time. The decision on whether to charge them as adults ultimately rests with the state attorney. Prosecutors are expected to present the case to a grand jury, which will decide whether to indict the 2 teenagers on first-degree murder charges in adult court. If they are tried as adults and convicted of first-degree premeditated murder, both boys could face mandatory life sentences. In Florida, the death penalty is theoretically possible for first-degree murder, but sentencing juveniles to death has been restricted by Supreme Court rulings. Meanwhile, Ashley Troy was left to process the unimaginable. Her daughter was dead, murdered by boys she had trusted, lured to her death by a fake romance. "I still need answers," Ashley told reporters. "I'm just left asking why." But she also made clear that regardless of the answers, she wanted justice. "I want nothing less than for them to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law," she said. Ashley blamed evil influence for what happened to her daughter, rather than pointing fingers at the boys themselves. But evil influence or not, She made clear that the boys needed to face the consequences of what they had done. Her daughter was dead. Nothing could bring Danika back. But at the very least, her killers needed to pay for what they had done. As we continue, like, share, hit that subscribe button, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a case. The community of Pace, Florida, was devastated by Danika Troy's murder. This was supposed to be a safe place, a quiet community where terrible things did not happen. And now a 14-year-old girl had been shot and burned in the woods just off a walking trail. On the evening of Monday, December 8, 2025, exactly 1 week after Danika's body was discovered, Avalon Baptist Church in nearby Milton hosted a candlelight vigil in her memory. Our community is coming together to honor the life of Danika, a beautiful soul taken from us too soon. An announcement for the service read, "Please join us for a candlelight vigil as we remember Danika, celebrate her life, and ask God to bring peace, healing, and strength to everyone who carries her in their hearts." Hundreds of people attended. Neighbors, friends, classmates, people who had never met Danika but felt compelled to pay their respects. Candles flickered in the Florida night as the community tried to make sense of something that made no sense at all. Ashley Troy attended the vigil, surrounded by her church family. She thanked the congregation for flooding her family with love during the worst moment of their lives. "My family was hit very hard," she said. "I don't know what I'd do without my church family." In the days after Danika's death, Ashley asked people in her Facebook community to post photos of her daughter. She explained that Danika, like many teenagers, never would let me take any of her. She wanted to gather as many memories of her daughter as possible. Photos she could hold on to. Images of the girl she had lost. A GoFundMe was set up to help the Troy family cover funeral expenses. Donations poured in from across the country as people learned about Danika's story. The girl who just wanted to be loved. The girl who was murdered by classmates. The girl whose trust was exploited in the cruelest possible way. Neighbors near the crime scene on Kimberly Road expressed shock and fear. "It shocks me," one neighbor named Sue Petrish told reporters. "It's always been so quiet here, and it's getting bad. It's terrifying, in fact." The idea that two teenage boys could plan and execute a murder in their community was almost impossible to accept. These were kids, freshmen and sophomores. Children, really. And yet they had committed an act of violence that would haunt Pace for years to come. The Santa Rosa County School District provided counseling services to students affected by the tragedy. Teachers and administrators struggled to explain to students why 3 of their classmates were suddenly gone. 1 dead, 2 in juvenile detention facing murder charges. Meanwhile, Danika's younger sister, just 8 years old, was left to grow up without her big sister. An 8-year-old trying to understand why Danika was never coming home. "She just wanted to be in love for Christmas," Ashley repeated in interview after interview. It had become almost a mantra, a reminder of how innocent her daughter had been, how normal her desires were, how tragically those desires had been exploited. 14 years old, she had her whole life ahead of her, and it was taken away because of something that started with comments on social media. As of today, Gabriel Williams and Kamari Blevins remain in juvenile detention without bond. Both face charges of first-degree premeditated murder. Prosecutors are expected to present the case to a grand jury to determine whether the teenagers will be tried as adults. If they are tried as adults and convicted, both boys face mandatory life sentences in Florida. Given their ages at the time of the crime, 14 and 16, they would spend the rest of their lives behind bars. The investigation is ongoing. Authorities are still looking into whether charges will be filed against any parents related to the unsecured firearm that was used to kill Danika. The gun that Gabriel stole from his mother. The gun that ended a 14-year-old girl's life. The motive remains unclear. The explanations the boys have given, the social media dispute, the blocking, the name-calling, do not satisfy investigators. Sheriff Johnson has said openly that their stated motive does not match the evidence or the facts of the case. Something drove 2 teenagers to plan and execute the murder of a classmate. Something made them think that killing Danika Troy was an acceptable response to whatever happened between them. We may never fully understand what that something was. But we know what they did. They pretended to like her. They lured her into the woods. They shot her multiple times. They burned her body. And they went home and acted like nothing had happened. Danika Troy was 14 years old. She was a freshman in high school. She had dreams and hopes and a whole life stretching out before her. She wanted to fall in love. She wanted to experience the normal things that teenagers experience. Instead, she experienced betrayal. She experienced violence. She experienced death. Her mother's words echo through this entire case. She just wanted to be in love for Christmas. She was innocent and just wanted to be loved. Danika trusted Gabriel Williams. She believed him when he said he had feelings for her. She snuck out of her house on a Sunday night to meet a boy she thought cared about her. That trust cost her everything. This case is a reminder of how quickly teenage drama can spiral into tragedy. How social media conflicts can escalate beyond anyone's imagination. How young people can be capable of unthinkable violence. And how parents need to pay attention to what their children are doing, both online and in the real world. A gun was unsecured. A teenager was able to steal it. A girl is dead. If you've stayed with this video until the end, I want to thank you for bearing witness to Danika's story. Cases like this are painful to research, painful to tell, and painful to hear. But we tell these stories because they matter. Because Danika's life mattered. If you're a parent, talk to your children about what they're doing online. Monitor their social media. Know who they're talking to. Know what conflicts they might be involved in. And secure your firearms. Lock them up. Keep them away from children. Now, if this case affected you, smash that like button for Danika. Share this video so others can learn her story. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already and hit that notification bell so you're the first to know when we drop the next case. Your support helps us keep telling these stories that need to be told. Leave a comment below telling me what you think about this case. Should these boys be tried as adults? What should happen to them? Until next time, stay safe. Stay aware. Watch out for the people you love. And never forget Danika Jade Troy, the girl who just wanted to be in love for Christmas.